Hey guys, what's going on? Finally got the car back to stock. Took all the stuff out of it. I already sold the steering wheel and I think the throttle body controller, but I'm not gonna end up taking the springs off. I'm just gonna leave them on the car as it is. But what I did end up doing is I took off the Highlander brakes after all, and I was only gonna take them off to begin with, but I decided to take them off and then just put them on my other Camry. So that one already has those because it's a Highlander, but now I'm throwing them on my 2011. So this side's already done. Dual piston. It's a little dirty. It just rained here, so they're kind of rusty. But yeah, pretty straightforward. I'm gonna make a video on the other side, just in case y'all are interested. So this is a caliper from a 2019 Highlander, rotor from a 2019 Highlander. I believe it works the same from 2016 and up. I don't know, I could be wrong, it could be more models, but regardless, it's mostly the same part. So right now I have the original brakes to this 2011 Camry, single piston, and we're just gonna do the swap real quick. Pretty much just brake line, caliper, rotor, all the bolts are the same and all that stuff. So I'm gonna do, on the next video, I'll do the whole process. All right guys, the exposure might be a little bright because I had to focus it on this area so y'all can see on the dark area inside here. So we're gonna begin with taking off the caliper. It's a size 17. Let's break it loose. In this case, I'm just taking off the whole caliper as one piece, since I'm not gonna change pads or anything. I'm just gonna take off the whole caliper in one piece until I'm replacing it with another caliper and brake line. So you don't have to worry about swinging out the actual caliper that compresses. You support your caliper down here so you don't stress the brake line, even though we're not going to use it. It's just good practice. 2 bolts that hold the caliper. These same bolts are going to be the ones that go into the Highlander caliper. Same bolts. So, forgot to compress this. Just stick a screwdriver in here. It's better if you have the bolts on there, but I already took them off, so it can be done. Okay. Throw a lug nut on here. I'm gonna compress these out just so we can have some room to take it out. For now, we're gonna swing it up. Take this off now. Remove your rotor. This is from the Camry. It's a little bit smaller. And for now, I'm gonna throw 2 oil pans down here in the caliper box, just so I can put this here while I take off the bolt for the actual brake line, which is a 12mm. Again, I'm not too worried if I damage the brake line because I'm not going to use it. But if I can save it, not damage it, then that's even better. Power tools does help. It's a lot faster. Same bolt. That's gonna be the same bolt that holds the brake line on the new caliper. So now the only thing holding this caliper to this car is the actual brake line. There's a little clip that you gotta take off. I have a little small pair of pliers. You can use a screwdriver, try to hammer it out, but this works better. Small pair of needle nose pliers. Get in there sideways, and you're just gonna pry it out, or just loosen it up for now. Don't take it completely out. You just want to make sure it can actually move without, you know, cracking, falling apart. Now we're gonna use a 10 line wrench. And it is gonna get messy. So, rag, shirt. I'm gonna put this one back up here. And we're gonna put the Highlander one right here. This is how it's gonna be mounted. So just make sure you have your bracket in place like that and everything. And it's gonna hook up like that. So, basically you just wanna have it ready. Piece here. That's what makes this job so fast. So you're gonna lose some brake fluid, but that's fine because you were gonna have to bleed it anyways. So we got that one ready. We're gonna lose a little bit of fluid, so we're just gonna try to be quick. It's important to use a line wrench. You're gonna hear a little crack on there. Being stubborn. It's being real stubborn. Let's see. I did put some penetrating oil on there. This has been on here going on 12 years now, so actually let me pause the video right here just so I don't keep going, and we'll come back in a bit. All right, the video stopped by accident, but this is exactly where we left off. So even with a line wrench, it was giving me trouble. I soaked it a bit with some PP Blaster. I gave it like 10 minutes. I brushed the threads a little bit with a wire brush, and then put some brake cleaner on there. And it finally cracked loose. But can't stress the importance of using a line wrench. I think that's what they're called, right? Okay. So we got it loose, so it's gonna get messy. Try to be quick. It's already leaking, so the faster you can get this off, the better. If you want to wear gloves, guys, go ahead. Brake fluid's nasty stuff. We got this nut loose already, so now we're gonna go back to taking off the clip completely. Wiggle it out. There it goes. So this is how I'm grabbing it. There's a little lip. Just grab the pliers like that, and you're gonna wiggle it out. Give it a quick clean. Now that you have it out, it's fine. Now we're still losing brake fluid, so let's try to be quick. Clean it up. Okay, this is the old caliper. Throw the hose into an oil pan or something just so it can drain into there. Get the new one. Get a quick clean. Back in there. And screw it in by hand. We're making sure that we're not cross-threading it because you would have felt it by now. Okay, go as far as you can go by hand threading it. Once you can't go anymore with your fingers, push the bottom part up while you're putting this clip in, and it should slide in with minimal resistance. Get a little mallet, rubber mallet, not a hammer. Tap it in. That's it. Now just finish up tightening it because it's still leaking. And do not go crazy, guys. There's a flange in here that does the seal. It's not the actual tightening that does the sealing. This car was probably serviced in the past and they tightened it a little bit too much, which is why I was having trouble. Spray everything down. And now our caliper is hydraulically, the hydraulic part at least is connected. No more leaks. Get it wiped down as much as you can. I'm alright with that. So now is a good time to clean your rotor. Whether they're new or not, make sure to clean it. Put it backwards on the hub. Let the hub hold the rotor for you. Just wipe it down. Turn it over. It's going to be the final position. Nice clean. Hold that in with your hands. Throw a lug nut on there so it can hold the rotor for you. Now we can do the reverse of what we did with the original caliper. Throw caliper on here. Same caliper bolts that we got out. Gonna line right up. And that's the top one. And that's the bottom one. Still gotta tighten them, but they're hand tight for now. And it'll keep it in place. Now the little bracket that's up here, you can adjust it. It slides along the brake line. First goes the ABS sensor bracket, and then the brake line bracket itself. I'm gonna adjust it a little bit more. Then the same bolt that we took out, it's gonna hold all that in place. And again, that is a 12mm. It's nice and snug. We got our brake line attached. Gotta cut this zip tie off, don't worry about that. And from here you can proceed to do your brake pads as normal. Now it's going to be Highlander brake pads, and if you're ever doing the rotors, Highlander rotors. So that's going to be the video for that. That's just a swap itself. The actual brake pads, that's pretty self-explanatory. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Alright, well, I figured I'd finish it up and do the brake pads as well, so I know how it feels to watch a video and you gotta go and find another one that completes the job. So this bottom two caliper bolts, I believe they are a 14. If I remember correctly, 14. And all we got to do is take the bottom one off. Sometimes the slide pin will go with it. It'll slide with it as you rotate the back one. If it does, just lock it up with channel locks, and then you know, take the back one off. So that's the back one. There, do slide it up, go around, and we'll use this time to compress it a little bit more. It should fit because I compressed them when I took them off. But just to be sure, I'm using the brake pad as a spacer, and then we'll compress one side of it. And we'll jump to the other piston, compress that one a little bit. And these are not new pads, so they don't need to be compressed all the way. That's why I know they're probably gonna fit. So I already got all the hardware pieces in there. I should have cleaned them up while I had everything off. It hasn't been that long since I serviced the brakes when they were on the Camry, the white one. So we'll leave it like that. These pads are almost done. Well, not almost, but I'm gonna replace them later on anyways. Alright. This one goes on the back, you can tell by the markings. Drop it in there. Goes to the front. That's it. These A-springs. It's finicky if you're doing it for the first time. Put one in. Once you put it in, you gotta hold these brake pads together with one hand. So make sure you're good with both hands. Put the last one in on the top. Make sure they're all the way in. And now there's a lot of tension on these pads, which is good. Make sure they won't stick to the rotor. And then just slide it in and there. So now the caliper's holding the pads together. Throw back the slide one. Remember, I'm not gonna do full maintenance on this because it's not due for it yet, and I just did them on the other Camry when they were on the other Camry. still got a good amount of life left into them. I greased the slide pins not too long ago. Careful when you grab back here because there's a bushing. I'm just using it just so I can stop the slide pin from spinning. And that's good enough. That's pretty much it, guys. So now I'm just gonna bleed the brakes, seeing what works best. Or I don't bleed brakes too often, so I went off of YouTube, just like you guys are. Which is why you're here. So, oil pan, and the box. You know what? Yeah. And again, this is not a full brake bleed. If you were doing a full brake bleed, you would have to start. Best practice is to start from the furthest cylinder or piston from the brake booster. In this case, all I'm doing is getting rid of the air that was in these hoses when they were in storage, or when I had them sitting here next to me. Once you open up the brake system, you gotta bleed it. So since I took them off the white Camry, had them here next to me on the concrete, now I'm gonna have to bleed them again just to get the air that got in there. And it shouldn't be too hard. Alright. So this is why this is driver's side, so it's fine if I do this one. Remember, we're just getting the air out of this hose. Shouldn't be too big of a problem. So this is my snap-on brake bleeder tool. You can only get it on the snap-on truck. It's exclusive to them. Very important tool. Just kidding, guys. Bottle, empty bottle, make sure it's dry. Brake fluid, clean brake fluid. I drilled a hole into the top, put a piece of rubber hose, and that is what's gonna go to the brake bleeder valve. I have a 5/16 wrench that seems to fit good, so I'm gonna leave it like that. Put the wrench on first, and then your hose. And crack it open just a little bit, maybe half a turn. I can see fluid coming out already. So now we're gonna pump the brakes a few times. So we want to see a steady stream of brake fluid without any bubbles, which I see that. So that's good. We'll close it off. Don't go too crazy. Now you can take the hose off, drain it back into the bottle, and check your brake reservoir on the top. Never let it go dry, guys. Never let the brake reservoir go dry. Better said. Just make sure it's snug. Do not over tighten this. You'll strip the threads and it'll start leaking from there, which is not what we want. Put the rubber cap back on. And that should be it for the bleeding. I've seen videos where it says your bleeder has to be, you know, as high as possible. Some have it on the bottom. I just did it, you know, up here. I don't know if it helps or not, but it's worked in the past for me for the few brake bleeds that I've done. And now that will complete the actual job. Now you gotta just put your wheel back on. Move this out of the way. This is what we're looking at now. Dual piston, pads are installed, rotor. And that'll complete the job, guys. Thanks for watching. Hope this helps.